So it turns out 2025 is now. And so today we're going to take a look at some of my most anticipated movies of the year. Now, obviously some of these picks could just turn out to be complete ass. But anticipation is really what keeps life going, so we're gonna do it anyway. And I should also be upfront about the fact that, we don't know every movie that's coming out this year, so we're just gonna take a look at the movies we know are coming out and then hopefully form some semblance of excitement. Also, these aren't ranked because I feel like if I ordered them, then I'd have to do a lot of investigation into my personal excitement gauges, and I just don't want to do that. I am very excited for Superman Legacy. I really enjoy James Gunn's filmography. I think he's very in tune with the characters that he tackles. I mean, yeah, he's pretty crude. Maybe really crude. But based on the trailer, I think this will be a real beacon of hope. It looks like a lot of fun while also being very emotionally effective. I think some people were kind of taken aback by the look of this movie, but I think that's a good sign. Aren't we tired of comic book movies all looking the same? This movie looks different while still honoring its origins and potential legacy. That's a pun. I mean, this could be a real shot to the face and another example of a failed cinematic universe, but I really do not think so. I think this looks kinda terrific. But now on to less pure intentions. The Conjuring: The Last Rites will be hitting us in late summer, and I'm happy that it will. This is said to be the last of the Conjuring-verse films, and you know what? I'm kind of happy about that. So thank you for those involved in that decision. I mean, I've had some fun with some of the Conjure-verse movies, but let's be real, they haven't really been the best horror has had to offer. I usually start off on board with the Conjuring movies, but then I kind of just end up not caring, and then everyone starts screaming in them, and then it's like, what is going on? I don't know. And it's pretty clear that horror movies have been doing pretty well recently, so, the Conjuring movies had they added a nice stimulant to the horror genre, but I just don't think it's really needed anymore. I think this franchise has served its time, and I think that we should really respect that. But let's be real, they'll just reboot it in 4 years. Because remember, we may die, but IP never will. I'm a little bit hesitant to put Elio on this list, but I feel like I must out of original solidarity. When you look at Disney's slate this year, Pixar seems to be the last bastion of originality, and you know what? I think I have to tip my cap to them. Elio looks pretty good. It's interesting that Pixar has more than any other element focused on world building. It's not entirely my favorite route of storytelling, considering it doesn't always work too well for them, but then sometimes it helps deliver their best work. And this movie looks like it has a cool world while also almost hitting on childhood loneliness. It's about a kid who wants to be abducted by aliens, and I think that's kind of cool. It feels like the only animated movies that can make a lot of money are sequels and The Wild Robot. So yeah, I'm hopeful that this is good and can break through as well. But I'm an adult who watches movies for grown-ups because I'm an adult who watches things for grown-ups, okay? So I'm pretty pumped for Presents. This is the newest Steven Soderbergh movie that comes out later this month, and it's another kind of experimental movie from him. This film is told from the perspective of the presence or the ghost that is haunting this house or this family. And it looks scary, it looks sad, it looks really good. I really appreciate the way that Steven Soderbergh makes movies, especially the way that he plays around with genre, and this looks like that. And he also has another movie coming out later this year called Black Bag, which is an espionage romance thriller starring Cate Blanchett and Michael Fassbender. I don't think this looks quite as good as Presents, but the cast is great, and it looks like Soderbergh doing Fincher. And Steven Soderbergh and David Fincher are friends, so I wouldn't be surprised if they talked heavily about making this film. But this looks like a back-to-basic thriller, a type of movie that we don't see anymore. It doesn't seem entirely too subtle, but from the trailer it has kind of an off-kilter sense of humor, which I think could be pretty neat. 28 Years Later had one of the coolest trailers in a while. I really like Daniel Boyle movies, and I think that Alex Garland is the writer has really just zoned in on how to make very emotionally intense films that never let go. There's already a bunch of theories about this movie because the trailer just has some really weird and unexpected shit going on, and that is pretty exciting. We've seen kind of the rise of iPhone filmmaking over the past decade with filmmakers like Steven Soderbergh doing it and Sean Baker doing it, but this really does look like the pinnacle of that form. This is a big budget wide release movie that was shot on an iPhone, and obviously it had probably so many attachments that you couldn't even acknowledge the fact that the base of it is an iPhone, but still, it's pretty cool. And this movie just looks miserable, but in a good way. Now, I know that I was talking shit on Disney's slate this year for lack of original things, but I must say I am quite excited for Tron Ares. We don't know much about it, but we do know that it's about a program coming into the real world and Jared Leto's in it, which honestly, I don't think that those two pieces of news are great, but I must still hold out hope. Tron Legacy is actually kind of incredible. In terms of highly involving filmmaking, it's perfect. We also talk a lot about vibes nowadays, and Tron Legacy's vibes are pretty great. So, you know, I feel like I have to be at least somewhat excited for Tron Ares. The score is also being done by 9 Inch Nails, which it might not be as good as the score for Tron Legacy, but I have trusted in them that they'll be able to put something really cool together. And Greta Lee is in this movie, so maybe that can kind of help counteract the Jared Leto of it all. Even though I don't know if this is a hot take, but I really don't hate Jared Leto. He was the best part of Morbius. I mean, that's a compliment. It's not a very good one, but you know, it's a compliment. Sinners is the newest from Ryan Coogler and will technically be his first original feature film. This is said to be a vampire movie, but from the trailer, there's not really a whole lot of indications of that, which to me is exciting because it's clearly not the typical type of vampire mythology that we're used to. And also this movie looks like it has a lot of texture and seems relatively contained. And anytime there's a horror movie that could be a blockbuster, that just gets me excited for the genre. Ryan Coogler has yet to make a bad movie. Even his worst feature, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, is still a good movie. And I would also say that I'm pretty hit or miss with Michael B. Jordan, but whenever he's teamed up with Ryan Coogler, I think he does his best work. Mission Impossible Final Reckoning is, I guess, not the final Mission Impossible movie, but it sure feels like it. Dead Reckoning didn't do as well at the box office as I think a lot of people hoped it would. And yeah, maybe it wasn't as good as Fallout or Rogue Nation, but I still thought it was fun. And apparently The Reckoning is going from dead to final. So I guess that's how Reckoning works. Even though I don't really know what's going on. Like, I guess in the last movie, there was some stuff with the submarine and AI and keys. Yeah, I don't really know what's going on. But let's be real. Being confused is just part of the Mission Impossible experience, and I think that we just have to respect that. And this one looks like a lot of fun. It'll probably be 3 hours long because I just think that's how long movies are now. But I'm down for it. As far as action cinema goes, I think Mission Impossible has been the best for a while. F1 is another big movie coming out this year, which is good because I think Apple TV Plus is probably a little low on cash thanks to Argyle. I thought it was good. I technically didn't love the trailer. It seemed like they just put "We Will Rock You" over cool shots from the movie, but you know, yeah, the shots looked cool. And I've actually found that I do enjoy movies about racing, which is interesting because I don't really care about cars and I really don't have much of an affinity to go fast. I'm actually mentally and physically 93 years old, but I find that if a movie is really able to make me feel that velocity and intensity, I'm kind of a sucker for it. This is also by Joseph Kosinski, who of course made Tron Legacy and Top Gun Maverick. I don't expect this movie to be as culturally significant as Top Gun Maverick, but I think it'll be a movie that makes a pretty decent amount of money, and it's a film that you can take your dad to, your dad who may or may not be very disappointed in you. Honestly though, out of all the action films coming this year, I think you should look out for Predator Badlands. This is coming from the same team as Prey, which was obviously a great time, and this is said to be the first time a Predator is actually the main character of the movie. I'm not sure that's gonna work out as cool as it sounds, but I mean, it sounds pretty cool. And I'm always down for more Predator. I actually think as a society, we just don't appreciate Predators enough. Oh, that's not what I meant, sorry. Usually I would like to point out kind of a smaller film that comes out this year, but I really can't because Avatar Fire and Ash is coming out and I'm very excited. Mr. Cameron might yell at you for any small infraction, but man, does he know how to make a movie. He will actively make you believe that blue cat people are good at firing a bow and arrow, and I'm kind of here for it. I greatly enjoy both of the Avatar movies, and I think he can craft a theatrical experience like no other. I'm a little bit worried that structurally this will just turn out like the first two, but if the world building and the sound design and the action sequences are as top-notch as the previous two films, I don't know how I can't be excited for this. Remember when that one dude gets his arm chopped off in the second one? Yeah, that was cool. All right, well, there are other movies that I'm excited for. Edgar Wright has his version of Running Man coming out, and Osgood Perkins has The Monkey coming out pretty soon, which looks, I think, pretty fun. Companion looks fresh and original, and Wake Up Dead Man is sure to be a blast. But I do have two movies that are at the top of my list. They are undeniably the films that I am most excited for. The thing is that they don't have titles, so that makes this kind of difficult to talk about. First up, there's a new Noah Baumbach movie. Some have reported the title as Jay Kelly. He's the director of Marriage Story, The Squid and the Whale, and Frances Ha. He's just one of my favorite filmmakers working today, and this new movie is said to be a coming-of-age movie for adults. Netflix is handling the distribution of this film, so please please give it a theatrical release. I think Noah Baumbach and his partner Greta Gerwig are just making some of the most thoughtful movies today. And even when they're doing bigger movies like Barbie, I think that it's always done with an independent spirit that is just so undeniable to me. I feel like every year I gain more of an appreciation for Noah Baumbach's filmography, especially even now that I'm out of college. So I hope that this new movie of his is able to capture that oddly silly yet highly human edge that most of his movies have. But for my most anticipated movie of the year, it does have to be the new Paul Thomas Anderson movie being released in September. This is said to be his most accessible movie to date, but for Paul Thomas Anderson, I'm not really sure what that means. You never really know what he's gonna do because sometimes he'll do a psychological drama like The Master, which to most people just doesn't make any sense. But then he'll make a movie like Licorice Pizza that's just an odd slice of life film that, to a lot of people, doesn't make any sense. He's one of my favorite filmmakers working today, so I don't know how this is gonna be my most anticipated movie of the year. I mean, I'm a little bit worried, because of the fact that this will be his most commercial movie, according to him, but he's still making a movie, and I like his movies. All right, well, now you heard my opinion, so let me know yours in the comment section. You can tell me how wrong my picks are because I hear that's just what you're supposed to do on the internet, so go do that.